Hey, welcome back, everybody, to our brand new talk show, Etched in Stone, inspired by Nikki Stone's name and presence here with me. You will know her from local radio fame. And we're going to be talking about heading for the finish line now for the presidential election in November. And tonight, Kamala speaks with her sidekick, Waltz. She's doing it
Oh,
together. They're having their first interview with CNN. They probably
so
all
how
softballs.
is I wonder how this is going to work, Larry, because you does she need him to tell her what to say? I mean, I don't think he sounds too much more intelligent than she does when it comes to ideas. So I am very curious to see how this all plays out.
Well, doesn't this set back women's rights a century or so? You know, you have to have a guy, your chaperone, your coach
This
with you.
this is true too. Like you can't do things on your own, but women I'm so confused I can't even speak.
Well, see, that's a new masculinity. Waltz is bereft of much masculinity, but Kamala makes up for it. So it evens out. You know, this is the new system, the new paradigm. So we got to get used to it.
I'm telling you, I'm not made for 2024. I don't. I'm certainly not made for this election. I did see somebody the other day in a very Democratic town with a huge Biden waltz sign taped to their vehicle, trying to back out of a parking space, and they couldn't. And I was laughing. I'm like, well, that tells you who is
They
supporting.
should have called the coach for some guidance out of the driveway.
I
But
I was like, you can't figure out how to back a car out of a parking space, and like you had a mile that you could still back up, and they must have backed up, went forward, backed up like three, four times.
now, at the risk of coming off like a chauvinist, was it a woman driver?
And you know what? I tried to see who the driver was because I wanted to know what somebody looks like that supports Biden Walson can't drive, or come
Yeah.
on, what
Kamala and Waltz.
Paris Waltz.
Yeah.
I get so it doesn't matter. It's all because it's you're voting for the party. You're not voting for the person. You're voting for the party and the ideals of the party.
Yeah, which are not
Have we heard that
quite.
enough in this past week or
Hey,
so?
we have with us a familiar face. We had him on the show last week. Bob Bolus, well known in the Scranton area as being an avid Trump supporter. And Bob, we have some pictures of those trucks that you've been parking and driving around. Now, we all know the picture that quickly became iconic of Trump rising up after he was shot and fist in the air and all that. Well, Bob has that picture on the side of his truck with a certain type of alteration. Instead of the Secret Service standing to the Trump's right, we have Jesus Christ. Now, Bob, explain what that's all about.
Well, what I did, Larry, when I took a serious look at what was going on out there and the ignorance and the inability of how would I put it, the Secret Service, the law enforcement that allowed this kid to be out there and get up on a roof with a rifle and do what he did. But the most important part is when he fired his weapon and he nicked President Trump's ear by a fraction,
Yeah.
would have killed him because it was a headshot. And anybody in the military understands what I'm saying, that when you think somebody's got body armor, this or that, you shoot for the head.
Hmm.
And that was a headshot. And in my belief, as not only an American, but as a Catholic and all, I believe there was a force much greater than law enforcement or anybody else there. And I believe, and I've been all over the world, I truly believe Christ intervened in the assassination attempt on Trump. And I took it upon myself. I sat with some people and said, this is what I want done to the trailer. I want the trailer to reflect exactly what we know and we believe happened. And that's divine intervention.
Well, you're not alone in your belief, Bob. What kind of reaction have you been getting? Mostly positive, negative, skeptical, what?
Been getting tremendous reaction from people. Today in Scranton, the trailer is parked down there for La Fiesta. And of course, in the city of Scranton, with the liberal Democrat mayor and the liberal commissioner, the county commissioners, there's a lot of adversity to us having the trailer there. Today they put up no parking signs right alongside the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's there and it's hooked to one of my heavy wreckers. And having been in the towing for over 50 some years, there's nobody going to be able to touch or tow this truck. We'll get tickets and we'll pay them because it's our belief that this trailer should have been allowed there just like anything else politically. Now, if you take Casey there'd be no question. If I put a trailer there with anybody else in the Democrat Party, they'd probably be surrounding me with flowers and everything else. But the fact that it's the Trump trailer and what it represents to this country, it represents the past, and the past was good for us.
Nikki,
We in the transportation industry knew what it was like to have the good time.
Yeah.
And the good time for the transportation was a good time for all the people. But today, to answer your question, as I was walking around taking some photos of the trailer, I had a guy stop in a black SUV and said, "That's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen."
Oh.
I said, "Wait, excuse me, it might be my hearing aid that's not right. Explain to me why it's disgusting." And he said, "It's just damn disgusting." So, and he said, "I'm disgusting." I said, "Well, my friend, let me put it to you this way. You could actually go to hell today because if I'm disgusting and that trailer's disgusting, you're on the right road. Keep on going down Washington Avenue and just drive the hell out of here because either that or you have two choices. If you think I'm really that disgusting, then please stop your vehicle and get out and come tell me to my face." And he drove
Did you know who this was, Bob?
away. No, I don't, Nick.
Oh,
It was
I
just
love.
some jackass in Scranton.
He found
Huh?
that to be disgusting. He's driving an SUV, obviously a member of the party that believes in the Green New Deal and saving the planet, and he had a big black SUV. Is that what I'm picturing?
Well, in a sense, Nikki,
Okay, I'm
I
just
just
wondering.
found him to be a very ignorant individual. He wasn't a kid. He was in his probably 60s, someone there. So he was around long enough to have seen different levels of life over the years and economic good, bad, and indifferent.
And you're right,
And
there's been
to
an attack
say
on the transportation industry for quite a while.
53 years, I've owned the trucks, and then I grew
Yeah.
up in the transportation industry with our family-owned trucking company. So I've been in it my whole life. And I've been a driver, I've been owner, dealer, every aspect of transportation I've been involved in.
Now, Bob,
And
what about the Green New Deal thrust for all electric trucks, even these 18-wheelers? Is that at all practical?
I think it's the most asinine idea you could come up with. When I was in Florida about a month, 2 months ago, we our car came down and the Volvo dealer gave us not an SUV, but an electric car. And we were in Sarasota, so we went from Sarasota up to Orlando. When we got to Orlando, I looked at the charge and said, "Well, we got to find somewhere to charge this to get back."
Yeah.
We spent 3.5, 4 hours on the computer that's in the car trying to find a charging station. And when we finally got one that would work, because they don't all work the same way, you know, you put your credit card in, this will change or that will change. We had to stand in line for over an hour to get a space and then had to fight for the space. And it's just asinine. You take an 18-wheeler, you put the weight of those batteries
Right.
into the truck. Well, you just cut down on the cargo you could carry. And it's asinine. You're going to get into a truck stop. Look at the truck stops. You might see 20, 50. I've owned a couple truck stops. You've had over 100, 150 trucks in there at night. Where are you going to plug them all in? Either they're going to have self-contained generators, which operate on fossil fuel, to charge those batteries, or they're going to have to design something into the equipment as it's built, something like you have your satellite type stuff or anything like that, solar energy or solar power. And if that don't work, just give you a set of pedals, because that's the only way you're going down the road with a damn truck.
Yeah, Nikki.
And I think it's the most asinine thing, because another part of it is you got refrigerated trailers.
Uh-huh.
You can run them on electric. Where are you going to charge them? How are you going to keep frozen goods at 0 and below?
Who's paying for all this electric as well, and at what cost? And will it? It's never going to save the consumer or the business any kind of money. It's going to be worse than, you know, we're complaining now that gas has gone down. You know, the smoke and mirrors show that happens, not down to Trump levels, but, you know, it's down a little bit. We complain about gas prices. Could you imagine these electric prices when you have to pay for
Nikki,
to charge?
Take it a step further. A, it's going to cost you to charge your truck up.
Mm-hmm.
B, how many trucks are you going to be in line ahead of you before you even get to a charging station? And 3, what if your truck goes dead in the meantime while you're waiting in line?
Yeah, and the weight of the batteries takes up at least half the payload, right? So that in itself will increase the cost of shipping anything.
Not only that, Larry, you take it snowing. We're in the Northeast. We've had trucks in California going over the mountains through Montana. You know, where are you going to go when you're sitting in a snowstorm and the interstates are blocked for hours? I mean, I've been in the towing recovery 53 years. Are we going to have an electric wrecker? And then it's going to go dead out in the interstate? What are you going to do with the poor drivers that are sitting in that truck and it goes dead?
Yeah. You know, Bob, I want to hear from Nikki in terms of, you know, your belief that was divine intervention. Now, Nikki, you circulate in the community quite a bit. Do a number of people have that feeling that, you know, this was a miraculous close call?
I do hear that a lot from people, that they think it was a miraculous close call. My personal belief, however, is the shooter that they claim was the shooter wasn't the actual shooter. And if they would have killed Trump, it would have been bad for them, because you could have put anybody else in there to run and they would have been too likable. They love having Trump as the candidate in the Republican Party because he's easy for some people to hate, whether it's a jealousy factor on some people's counts because he's not nice, he says mean things, he tweets mean, whatever their reason for not liking him. Trump is an easy man to hate, and anybody else that they would have put in there could have been too easy to like, and that would have destroyed the Democratic Party. But other people do think that, oh my gosh, it was a close call, and a lot of people are saying it had to be divine intervention.
Well, you know, Nikki,
And
the polls are saying one thing, and it appears that the feeling of the populace is someone else. Now, what's your feeling this time around, both Nikki and Bob, in terms of when Trump first ran and when he ran the second time, compared to now? Has his support grown? Has it been stable, or is it decreasing? I mean, when you sample the area, you know, we're in the Scranton area, heavily Democratic, a Democratic machine here, you know, from way back. So, you know, are the polls deceiving the public?
I don't believe the polls, and Nikki, I think we've talked about this in the past. I don't believe the polls mean a damn thing right now, because the polls, let's put it this way, they're not speaking for me. They're
Right.
not speaking for Nikki.
Hmm.
They haven't, they send stupid stuff around. The polls are what we believe and what we as Americans have incurred and watched. And what we've seen when Trump was in office, we had an economic boom. We didn't have one of our fellow veterans killed at any time during his administration. That other idiot had the nerve to sit there and say, on his watch, no military person died. Did he forget the coffins coming off the airplane
Yeah.
from Afghanistan between him and that Giggles, as I call her?
Well, you know, we have
Did
somebody
he
who's
forget
just,
about that? But
we have
remember when they were coming off, Larry?
Yeah.
He's looking at his
At
watch.
his watch, yeah. We have somebody joining us now who has both a military
Hey,
background and financial expertise. So, and this is Mark Collinsworth, the CIO of Ver Global Wealth Management. Mark, you're a Southerner. You know, what's the feeling among Southern? Now, it's not traditional Southern support anymore for Democrats or Republicans. That's all changed because so many Northerners have moved south, and a lot of the officials controlling even southern states are much more liberal than the general population. So, what is your feel generally of the population in the South and their support for Trump or lack of it?
Thank you, Larry. I think a lot of that support comes down to it is because there's certain traditional family values that's just instilled in you in the Southern culture, and you don't see that with the Democratic Party. You know, it's not that the Southern states left the Democratic Party; it's the Democratic Party left the Southern states, and they found an alternative, which is the Republican Party.
Well, you know, Bob is talking about the military and you know Biden's apparent lack of sensitivity. Now, you have told us that traditionally, most of the recruitment for the military has come from Southern families. They're generational sign-ups for the military. But that's changing now, isn't it? And how come?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily I wouldn't say it's changing. I'd say there's probably more of a slowdown. And I think the reason why it's slowed down is the children of the parents that went through what the military you described, they are not feeling the same patriotism. Like, I was in the military. I try to talk, my son wants to join the military because I was in it, but I'm trying to talk him out of it because the military no longer instills the traditions of patriotism into people. The military now has gotten, let's say, woke. I don't want my son going to an institution that's going to basically teach him to be more liberal, which is the military.
Yeah. So also, Mark, the economy. That's something else I wanted to bring up. The Biden administration is still crowing about how great the economy is under them as compared to Trump and Kamala. They're showing these ads now where Kamala said repeatedly, Bidenomics is working. Bidenomics is great. In fact, do we have a clip of that from our producer? Rack, do we have the Kamala expressing support for Bidenomics? We don't have that clip. Okay. But anyway, Mark, why is that not true? That Bidenomics did work under Biden and Kamala.
Big thing is, COVID. You lost all these jobs. The jobs really weren't lost. You were basically sent home from work, and they classified that as being unemployed, and they brought those same people back in. So technically, they went on a long vacation that the government ordered them to be on, classified them as unemployed, and then all of a sudden, and invited them back to work and said, you're no longer on vacation anymore. And they're going to say, hey, we look at all these jobs we created. That's one, scam. Look at the facts. When Biden came into office, I think the inflation rate was somewhere like 1.9%. Under his regime, it shot up close to 8%. Even if you go to the stores today, I remember, under Trump, you go to the store, if you wanted to buy 10 products of this, you could do it no problem. Now you go to the store and you see that same product, it says a maximum of 3 per person or something. You watch TV where you watch the CNN, even if you watch a CNN interview with people on the street, do you know how liberal CNN is? Those people even will say the economy is better under Trump, that they can't go out and they can't afford eggs, they can't afford meat, all those kind of things. So what the government says and what the people are seeing and feeling are two totally different worlds.
Yeah, it's and up north here. I mean, Bob, you deal with a lot of working class people. Are they struggling as much as a lot of other people are? I mean, the working class was doing well, as far as I could tell, under Trump, but how much has that changed?
A lot of it's changed, Larry, and the issue that's really changed, keep in mind a lot of people are working from home now. So the downfall in the economic end are people that have the mortars, so to speak, buildings, are getting destroyed because they're paying for empty space. And people are sitting home. You're not getting the quality of work that you have when you have people, as you're well aware, in an office that you can get up, walk over, ask somebody a question, and get an answer and get something done. So we're suffering all on. But what they're really suffering, and they're not understanding, from us in the transportation industry, when he turned around, and I'm talking Biden and Harris, when they stopped the drilling, when they stop the flow of oil, but they'll sell our oil to foreign countries rather than keep it in our country, refine it, put it in a truck, so we have the economic boom. When we fuel a truck, remember, we're passing that on to the consumer. So it goes to the manufacturer that we're working with. He adds his charge to it. So the bottom line is the consumer going to the store for groceries. Look at the price of banana, for example, just minor things. What milk is, what eggs are. Why? Because when a truck has to bring it, you're paying a heck of a lot more for it to happen. And I deal with a lot of people, but I will tell you something funny. When I was in Scranton this morning and the trailer was parked there, 3 nuns had came down the street. And I wasn't paying much attention because I was trying to figure out what I was doing next. And they stopped by the trailer and blessed themselves and walked on. And that gave me exactly what that picture represented.
Yeah, Nikki, you live in a rural area north of Scranton in Pennsylvania. You go to country fairs, you go to different events and all that. You mix with the working class quite a bit, and farmers,
Yes.
Ordinary people. How much do they say that they're struggling?
A lot of people are struggling. And I have to tell you, I just had a conversation before we started this video tonight with my daughter, who is 22 years old, having a baby, looking for a place to live. And her boyfriend has a decent, what would have been known once upon a time as a decent job. They can't afford rent. They can't afford rent on his income. She hasn't been working because she's been raising the one child. To pay for daycare wouldn't make sense. To try to figure out, he works a weird schedule. So to try to figure out how to get somebody to watch a child on a regular basis, the one child they already have, let alone a second one. And you should be able to still raise a family with one income, with one decent income. And he's making good money. But with the price of rent today, it's almost impossible to figure out how to make all of this work.
And buying your own house is pretty much out of reach for a lot of people. Mark, you know about housing prices and all that. I mean, what is driving this impossible for a lot of people economy to make it in the economy, and it will improve if Biden and if Kamala gets in and promotes any of the policies that she's talked about while she was vice president, the few times she has talked. I mean, can this turn around? No matter who's in office, either Kamala or Trump.
Well, a large majority of the problems we have right now has actually been created by the Biden-Harris campaign. If Trump comes in, I think he can fix it. But going back to the root cause of what a lot of this can actually be traced back to immigration. You look at where prices are going up. Well, let's say a city, they're having to raise, let's say, the city taxes because they need more police officers and more sewage, things like that. You have illegal immigrants coming to that city. They're still using those same services, but they may not be contributing to the tax flow for that city. So they have to make up and raise taxes other ways to make up the shortfall to make those expansions. And that goes back to the same thing as housing. Housing is a very, very supply demand driven factor. And like the old saying goes, they're not making more dirt to build homes on.
All right, another
So
thing
you
is,
have
go ahead.
you have these illegal immigrants coming in, buying these homes up. There's just so many homes that can go around, and you keep driving up the prices of them that they just get so astronomical, no one can afford them anymore.
Mark, though, also, like when it comes to even renting a place at this point, rents are up higher than they have ever been up. That's because for like a working class family, they're subsidizing people who can't afford to pay, but because they're giving so much money to certain people, the government is ruling the rent as well for the working class. Does that make you understand where I'm coming from?
Perfect sense. That's correct. If you're a natural born U.S. citizen, you're being penalized for that fact.
And if you're working for a living, you're being penalized for working and trying and raising a family the way I'm an old-fashioned way. One person works, the other person stays home and raises the kid, which is also work, incidentally. You know what I mean? It's like you're being penalized for trying to do the right thing because now you can't afford to pay these rents that the government's paying for other people who may not be trying as hard or doing as much.
Yeah, plus the government
living here legally.
Plus, the government is offering incentives now for home buying, down payments, and all that for illegals. And by the way, complicating all this, as we all know, no matter what part of the country we're in, is the increase in crime. As a matter of fact, there's been some startling, shocking video in the last few days. I guess it was in Colorado. There were several break-ins, gang members taking over an apartment complex and just going in stores and wrecking it. I think we could, Rack, do we have that to roll? I think we have a clip of that. Yeah, well, whenever you get it up, you just roll it for us as we're talking about it. Mark, is that kind of crime, wild stuff, increasing as much in the South? Where supposedly the population is much more stable, it's much more cohesive. I don't know if that still stands.
Oh no, crime here in the South is actually fairly low. I guess I should say it's fairly low in the non-democratic controlled cities of the South.
Here we go.
The reason behind that.
Here we go with a clip. We'll come back to Mark if we can get it rolling.
Gang violence at an apartment complex in Aurora. The video shows men entering an apartment building with several weapons and then busting down a door.
And all of this taking place at the apartment, which had become a crime hotspot in that city. Fox 31's Vicente Arenas was at that complex today as people were moving out, fearing for their safety. Vicente is joining us live from the...
Yeah, I mean, I saw one of those guys with this big rifle, looked like something that you would go to war with. And, this is becoming more and more common now. And, of course, the liberal prosecutors, many of them put in place by George Soros, let them go, tap on the wrist, no bail type of thing, and it's just getting worse and worse. Nikki, have you seen any of this firsthand or know anybody who's been a victim of it?
I haven't heard from anybody who's actually been a victim, but I have seen some of I shouldn't say I've heard about a lot of the crime that is happening in some of the areas. Now my dog wants to get in the video again. Sorry.
So even the rural areas don't feel as secure as they once were.
No, not at all, because we've heard of break-ins, we've heard of fights, people, gangs. I mean, come on. There was one of the people that was involved in the shooting of the Scranton police officer back a few months ago. Kyle Gilmartin was from up this way.
Yeah. And Bob, you had a robbery recently, didn't you, of one of your trucks?
Well, we had a trailer load of not disinfectant, but turtle wax disappear. They have the people. We're just trying to get the police to do something. The other part is we have one of our environmental cargo trailers that you pull behind a pickup truck, and they're all set up for the environmental that we did at the gas wells.
Mm-hmm.
And what turned around, that disappeared. We have a former employee that actually went into the office, took the title to it, and then wrote out a paper that I authorized him to sign the title and the trailer for $2,000. We're asking the police to turn around and arrest them. Well, they said we don't have anything with the title. We don't know if he took it. So where the individual moved to, which is about an hour and a half from here, the trailer went right by the individual who runs the ambulances in the town, right by the police station. So I went down that way and I talked with her. She's the one who gave me the information. I had her talk to the police, and they said, well, what was pulling the trailer? She said, I didn't pay attention to that. I just saw Bolus Environmental Group and wonder why an environmental company was in our town that I didn't know about, because I know everything. And we had her talk to the police, and she couldn't say what was pulling it. They said, well, we can't do nothing about it. It could have been being pulled by anybody. Now we have the paper signed by the individual taking it. He lives 3 doors away from this lady's backyard, that you can stand in her backyard and see their home 3 doors away. We have no reason for any of my people to be in that area, environmentally or otherwise. He has the paper, the title is gone, and they won't do nothing about it.
Yeah, you
I
know.
have one of my mini Honda Passports, 80cc. I bought in 82, and they were stored in my warehouse, in one of my shops. I was in Florida for the 2.5 months when I torn the Achilles tendon, so I wasn't here. And this all took place while I wasn't around. They turned around, and the one little mini bike disappeared. We know who took it. We know where it went. The title's still in my office, and they won't do nothing about it.
Bob, did you have this kind of thing years ago, or is this a recent increase in this kind of pilfering and crime, etc.?
It's ridiculous. We're in the used truck parts business. We have people that go in and out, and I couldn't tell you how much stuff has ever been stolen out of our yards, out of the transportation. I mean, people look to get whatever they can.
Yeah.
I mean, we have illegals in the community now. They're undocumented. A plane load came in, landed in Wilkes-Barre. I mean, we know they're here, and we know what's going on, and we have zero control. And enforcement, their hands are tied to a sense, because the district attorney we have in Lackawanna County has refused. We had an individual, and Nikki, I went over this with you the one time.
Mm-hmm.
We had a woman stole $45,000, and it was documented on EFS checks and com checks that companies give us when we're doing the repair work. So we fill out the check and the amount. She was working with other people using their cell phones between her and the other 2 people to cash the checks, and never came through. We turned it in. It was documented. The True Police Department did an intensive investigation into it.
Excellent.
He refused to do anything because he called it a cold case. So this is what we're wrong. But I have a dispute with a neighbor, and they wanted to arrest me for trespassing on my own damn property. because I took no trespassing signs down. So this is where the justice system has a lot of flaws, and it's
Yeah.
political.
Yeah, I think
I'm a
we.
Republican. I'm proud of it. I'm an American, former service, and I don't give a damn what they think about it. I live my right. I've sat in a local county, dirty cop, dirty judge, dirty lawyers. And Larry, you know what I'm talking about. You and I were there. We were in the airplane when I flew over the incident.
Yeah.
I still laugh about it every day.
Yeah, when I was in Scranton as a anchor and investigative reporter at WYOU, I had quite a few confrontations and run-ins with both politicians and local people that were very powerful in the community. Anybody who remembers me from those days will know what I'm talking about and the individuals that I'm talking about. Anyway, I think we have another clip on some of the craziness going out in all over the country, but this is in Colorado. Iraq, our producer, do we still have that clip ready? I think it might be coming up. Well, until it does, we can keep talking, and Iraq can put it on any time we're talking. Here we go.
Federal authorities in El Paso relinquishing custody of a man linked to this violent jewelry robbery. This happened back in June in Denver. So our partners at News Nation, they're reporting it's part of a Venezuelan gang. They do report Homeland Security officials turned over the suspect, Gene Torres Roman, to the Denver County Sheriff's Office. The brutal robbery caught on video shows several young men pulling guns, even pistol whipping two women. So a few days after El Paso SWAT officers took several people into custody, happened at a motel, and reportedly Torres was there. It's not.
I mean, look at the brazenness of a crime today. And it's largely because they have learned that there's few or no consequences. It wasn't like that in our day. Now, you can make an argument that the cops were overly reactive in the old days, that they were sometimes brutal and all that. But, there was largely law and order. And today, the pendulum has swung so far the other way that if it keeps going that way, it's going to be chaos. What do you think, Nikki?
You wonder sometimes, yes, there was probably some bad cops out there, but were there that many bad cops to justify all this? How do I say it? Every time there's force involved, where force is necessary, these police officers are too scared to actually do their jobs anymore, and nobody's afraid of them. The police have to be more afraid of the perpetrator, not just because he might pull a gun, not just because he might get hit by him or something violent, but they're scared because they're going to get sued, they're going to lose their job. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. As a matter of fact, I think we have somebody that Bob knows on the air joining us now. We are on the air live. Would you like to say something? Maybe she doesn't know that we're
That's
live.
my wife in Florida, Larry.
Okay. Well, tell her to talk. Tell her to say something. If she could hear you. No? Okay. Well, we'll
I
have.
don't know if she's. I think she's having a problem trying to figure out how to really do things with it.
All right. Well, maybe we'll come back to her later. In the meantime, we'll kind of put that aside for now. But Nikki, you were saying. Go ahead, Nikki.
The criminals are ruling. It's the inmates are running the prison. The old saying. It's with the crazy people are running the asylum. That's the way it's going right now, because these criminals are at least smart enough to know that they could push buttons, go so far, no consequences, and if the police officer comes at them, shoots at them, tries to hold them back as any kind of force, they will have a right to sue. And for some reason in this world, we're always making the cop look bad, worse than the criminal.
And we have another clip, I think, a jewelry store, a robber, suspect in custody in Denver, and another example of how brazen this all is now, because, they fear no consequences. And also, by the way, some of these gangs coming in from other countries now, Venezuela and all that, the legal system here and the cops here are child's play compared to how they'd be confronted in their own country. So they come here, what the heck? There's no
It's
consequences. If they get arrested, they're turned loose. So, they're having a grand old time because we're so liberal and soft. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, do we have that clip yet? Yeah, here we go. We're still
We
working
start
out
in
the
Aurora,
technical
where police
bugs.
are now joining a regional effort to address Venezuelan gang activity and other crimes involving migrant communities.
This is video of a jewelry store heist in nearby Denver, and it shows what police say are alleged members of that gang in action. And this is not the only crime under investigation.
Wow. I mean, you can see, they come in as a mob and, they just take over and you can't stop them. What are you going to do? You'll be arrested. Such as we had in New York, where the mayor of New York, when that bodega the owner defended himself by stabbing a guy that came in with a gun and was threatening him, he was the one who was arrested. So, I mean, it's gotten to a point of absurdity with this liberal approach to things, and I'm a lifelong liberal Democrat, but it isn't the party I grew up with, which you hear from a lot of people, and it's just common sense.
And it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, you think it's common sense, but what they're doing doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
We are so soft on crime. There's no reason. And then, we have to feel sorry for the person who got themselves in jail because they were treated meanly in jail.
Yeah.
You know what? Don't go to jail. Like, keep yourself out of jail. Do what's right. Don't do things that are wrong. And then you won't have to worry about being treated poorly or badly. Am I crazy?
No, you're mean. You're mean.
I am mean. Listen, when I heard a mother today say to their, I'm going to say 3-4-year-old, that they weren't putting in a cart. Usually we put our kids in the cart, push them around a store where they shouldn't be touching something. No, she's letting this little girl walk around, and the girl would get close to stuff, and she'd be like, and she would want to touch it because she liked it, and there was this stuff of glass there. And she's like, oh, no, you can't touch. Don't touch. You can wave to it, or you can blow it a kiss, but don't touch it. And I'm like, you're going to have your child blow a kiss to an inanimate object? Like, it was just the weirdest thing. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, and what about putting her in a cart, not letting her down to touch stuff like that? Or say, I told you not to touch it, I'm not telling you again. No, you could wave to it or you could blow it a kiss. I really wanted to see this kid blow a kiss at this glass stuff and go, mwah! And knock it all over. I would have laughed so hard. Like, that's how we deal with stuff today. I'm really confused.
Mark, are parents as crazy liberal in the South as they are in the North?
What do you mean, Larry?
Are they blowing kisses to inanimate objects that they're not supposed to touch?
No, I don't think I've ever seen my parents or grandparents do that.
Like,
I mean,
I was blown away. I've never heard of such a thing. Don't touch it. You can blow it a kiss.
Northerners,
or you can wave to it.
Northerners have this concept of the Southerners as being very mannerly and traditional and conservative and just nice manners, even if it's just on the surface. Is it still like that, or was it ever really like that, or is it just a Northern stereotype of Southern hospitality?
Is that question for me?
Yes, it is. You're the Southerner here. We're not.
Oh, I can tell you right now, if I didn't open the door for a woman, even if she's not, if I don't know her at a Target or Walmart, shoot, my grandparents would knock my head off my shoulders in a blink of an eye. You do not disrespect a woman here in the South. Absolutely no way. And you are instilled with that from a very young age.
Mark, don't you think it's just common courtesy, though? Like, if there's somebody walking in a building behind you, no matter what, to hold a door open for them, man or woman?
Well, yes, and that's kind of the funny thing. I've been here in the South, and probably here in the last, I've always seen that, and it's probably only been here in the last 10 years. I've actually seen men open doors with a woman walking behind them, and they just walk in and not even paying attention to it. And I have to ask the question, is that guy really from the South, or did he just, what we call a carpetbagger, did he just move down here from the North You know,
But I mean, I had that, like, I really was telling Larry before we started the show, I wasn't built for 2024. Like, not only did I have like this experience where then I was told I was rude, or the little girl was told by her mom I was mean because when I was waiting in line forever at this cash register and they were doing a refund and there was only one register open, but 6 people working up front or doing something, talking to each other up front. I'm not sure who was working, but there was one register open and there was like 6 to 7 other employees just standing around. One might have been cleaning off a register. I don't know why you can't clean and run a register at the same time. I'm confused. But when they finally told me I can move around when there was a problem with this person didn't have the receipt for the return, they didn't have their ID to make a return, and they couldn't make the return that I've already been behind this woman who essentially pushed in front of me to make a return at the one register that was open. And when they finally told me to move around, I said, well, it's about, you should have thought of this earlier. You have 7 people hanging out and no register, and only one register open. I don't understand. And the mother told her child that I was a mean woman. I was mean.
There's all kinds
I
of
wasn't
stories.
even that mean. If she wanted to see mean, I could have shown her mean. I was just like, I was being honest, like, seriously. So then I leave there and I go to pick up food, and there's a woman walking toward the same door I'm walking toward. She's going a little faster than me. She gets in there, she lets the door, she didn't even bother. She saw me walking, didn't even bother to hold the door. If I see somebody walking, I don't care how far away they are. If I see them coming, well, not that, you know what I mean, but within a reasonable distance, I always hold the door open. I don't care if I have to wait an extra 2 or 3 seconds. But people just think, I'm in, screw you.
I could top a story like that. Now, this happened some years ago before the wokeness became full blown. I was going into a building. There was this woman behind me. I stopped and opened the door very politely, very tentatively. She says, I don't need you to open the door for me. She was offended. I was this big chauvinist, didn't recognize that, she is woman. I mean, again, it's come to the point of absurdity. By the way, we are taking phone calls tonight, so if anybody wants to come in by phone and put in their 2 cents, we're open to that. So in terms of censorship in the media, I wanted to get to that too, because this week, Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook, a trillionaire practically, he was forced to apologize to the public because he admitted now, which he hadn't before, admitted that the White House pressured him for months and heavy pressure to take down, suppress, not allow on his site anything that was contrary to the COVID narrative, and also the Hunter Biden laptop story, which of course, even though the FBI early on and quietly confirmed it was Hunter Biden's laptop, this was before the election. So Biden's crew had 51 former intelligence agents sign a letter saying this was Russian disinformation. And according to some pollsters, that if people had known about that Hunter laptop story more widely, it would have been enough to make Trump president. So if that's true, if the polls are accurate, that was definitely, among other things, that have been going on, election interference. And Nikki, we've talked about this. We've both been in the profession of the media and journalism, and I see more and more control of the media. You look at the Scranton paper. I mean, their editorials, their articles, they all read like editorials, even though it's a straight news story. Very heavily democratic. Now, I don't think, you should have to take one side or the other, but if you're writing a straight news story, allegedly, don't make it an editorial. Let the viewer, the reader, decide. And we may have
and you see that more and more, and it's not just with our local papers, it's everywhere, where they lead you with their adjectives into, like when you read stories about Trump saying that he won the election, or false claims, or the election was stolen, right?
Yeah.
That's, false claim. They'd always put the word false before claims. You didn't need to put the word false before claims. He claimed. It doesn't, you have to determine whether it's true or false. That was never really actually determined because it was never actually really looked into, but we don't want to get into that. but you understand what I'm saying. They would
do.
always put that word there to lead the reader, especially the readers who need to be led or don't do their own research, into making the same assumption that the newspaper wants you to have.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we have a caller who will comment on this or something else. Whoever you are, yeah, come on in.
Hi, this is Rose.
Ah.
I wanted to thank Mr. Bolus. I think the pictures on the truck look very beautiful and empowering and truthful. And I thank him for his dedication and his love and patriotism for our country. And I just want to let you know, Mr. Bolus, that if you do get a ticket or one of many tickets, I said if you get the ticket, let Nikki or Larry know, and Rose will be more than happy to pay at least one of those tickets for you.
Thank you very much. That means a great deal to me and my people that drive some of these trucks around, which I do also myself. I made sure last night that the truck got in there and then unhooked the tractor from the trailer. Then we put one of my heavy wreckers under it to make it nearly impossible for the Liberal Democrat mayor in Scranton to try and remove my trailer.
Yep, and I'm glad you do that because
we have something to say about what goes on in our city. And her nonsense change in Scranton to Biden Street was an insult to all of us because it should have been on a referendum. And the other part, now she wants to bring these other two idiots in, Giggles and her, I call him Tampon Tim, who wants to put tampons in boys' bathrooms and has done it, is just an absurdity. I think he's got a mental issue. So our trailers, there's two of them in Scranton right now. As you know, the one is on the corner of Spruce Street, and the other one is over by Mulberry Street, where everybody will see. That's the trailer. Used to be Hillary, now it's Giggles' trailer.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. I will go and see them. And then the only other point, that I want to make right now is I just wanted to go back to something that Nikki said about, the illegal invader criminals, and then how they're very smart, or how they know how to get around everything and that they get away with everything. Well, from everything that I can put together and just using common sense, obviously. I don't think they're that smart on their own. I believe that this is all part of a coordinated plan by the Democrats, by the Soros people, by the money of the globalists, and this is to, have them brush the border, keep it open, and they just do their damage, and then they walk away. They just, catch and release. Steal and release, kill, murder, rape, release, and this is also a part of their pattern because the evildoers want to push us down. So we just hide away, don't speak up if we see it, and just slowly get used to having no rights that we really have, and conceding to them.
And then rule us with fear as well on top of it.
Exactly, Nikki. That is what's happening.
It's for your own good. It's for your own good. It's for your protection. It's insanity at its finest.
It is. It's insane, and it's on purpose. It's the plan.
Strategic.
All right, thank you, guys. I'll continue listening.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Rose.
Yeah, Mark, we've talked a lot about this among ourselves and even the two of us, that what is the big picture? Is it just liberal Democrats, the special interest groups, all that? Or is there a bigger picture? Now, I know Rock, who's our producer, is big on the theory. Well, he doesn't think it's a theory, he thinks it's a reality. The New World Order. That is the overall umbrella that is controlling all this. Now, Mark, you know the ins and outs of the economy, the way it works, how it affects politics and world events, everything else. Who's behind it? Who is really in control? Is it just a merger, melding of all these special interests working together? Is it just a lot of rich people who want more power, which we've had in every generation, or is it more of a sinister, hidden organization that's existed for centuries, according to some people, that's still in control? What do you think, Mark?
I'd probably say it's just notes that well, we call her in the South the good old boy club. It's a bunch of people wanting to get more power and richer, and they all have the end object is the same to get there. They just all have different directions on how they're approaching it, and I think that's what you see. No one's got an organized meeting. There's not a bunch of people that sit around this big round table in an underground cave in a volcano sitting around vising up ways to take over the world. It's just a group of guys going in the same direction, doing different things to get there. And when you look at it from the 100,000-foot level, you say, oh, it's a conspiracy. But when you knock it down to the 10-foot level, no, it's just a bunch of people wanting to be richer.
Well, people talk about the Bilderberg group, the Bohemian Grove, which you could find, I guess, alleged evidence of it on the internet. It really smacks of a larger picture that a lot of these rich, powerful politicians and industrialists are behind. So, I mean, if it isn't an ancient organization that works throughout the centuries, is it more of a group that works together? And they have conferences in Davos every year, that kind of thing, where it is an overall international control group.
I would disagree with that. I was in a fraternity in college. I'm also, I'm a Freemason as well. And,
a Freemason? A Freemason? Oh, my God. You guys are behind it all.
And we all like to do little
Larry,
ritual stuff.
You can't pick on us Masons. You can't pick on us consistory guys or the Shrine. Look what we've done for the American people. There's no better. I've been a 50-year member of the Masons and just got my 50-year plate about a year ago. And our organization and the members in it are second to none. And they're all proud to be Americans because we take care of our own. And that's the American people.
What do you think,
Right
Nikki?
around on it, Mark.
I'm a former rainbow girl.
Rainbow.
I'm a former rainbow girl. You know me, guys, right?
You guys are behind it. You come off as very innocent, sweet, all American, but what's really going on with the rainbow girls, and what does that name signify? That's what I want to know.
Right. That's it. What does it all signify? I don't know. I learned about faith. I'm sorry. I had to move outside.
You see, you're disappearing on us already. Another hidden force there.
There you go. I had to move outside because I noticed my child was inside talking on the phone behind me, even though he was outside making noise earlier. It's sort of, this is live. This is what live video gets when you can do stuff from home on Zoom.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you talk about New World Order or something organized, it seems like it has to be organized. I can't see that a whole bunch of different ideas come to the same objective. When you talk about all the farmland that Gates wants to buy up and the changing of our food and actually chemically making food in factories that's not even food. It doesn't. What's the end game? And it's not just Gates. It's not. We've heard about the Rothschilds. We've heard all these stories that you can find out on the internet. You have to ask: is there truth to some kind of conspiracy? You have to ask. I'm not saying there's a conspiracy myself. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Go beyond the food issue. When Joe Biden and Kamala decided to stop the gas industry from drilling. Okay, look what it's created in our economy, first of all. Second of all, it was kind of funny watching the issue with our two astronauts who were stuck in space. And if you notice, they didn't have to worry about water. They have a urine modification to change urine into drinking water. What do you think they're trying to do around here? The issues we have, we got some very scary people who want to change the way we live. Look what they've done to our farmers. They've destroyed them with artificial this, artificial that. We don't have the quality of the food. Look at the cancer rates. Look at all the other issues that we are dealing health-wise because of the way they've changed the way we live. The chemicals that are going in the ground. The chemicals, we really don't even know what kind of water we're drinking. Think about it. I mean, just watch what they're doing with these systems today that they want to change waste into drinking water, for God's sakes.
Mark, did you have something to say?
Well, I do have to run. If there's one last question you want me to knock out before I go.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what we're talking about, if it's not the sinister order that's hidden behind the scenes and all that, is it at least the punch that all these huge billionaires and trillionaires have the effect on the economy and politics, because they could buy anything and anybody, presumably. So, I mean, in effect, is that sort of a new world order?
I wouldn't say it was a new world order from a group of men organized. Like, let's go back to the thing with Bill Gates. I think Bill Gates just has his own agenda. He's investing in these, companies that, create, synthetic foods, and he's also buying up the farmland. He will eventually, at some point, have the ability to say, oh, let's reduce the amount of supply we have coming out of these farms, and we'll direct more people over to the chemical food companies, which will make him a whole lot more money.
So in other words, his motivation is just greed. It's not necessarily controlling the world.
Correct. It's not villainous groups trying to take over the world. It's a villainous man trying to put more money in his pocket and more power, and that could be interpreted as some kind of secret organization, but it's really not. And the thing with secret organizations, all secret organizations have this one in common. They all love to remain secret, because the best way for people to talk about you is to be mysterious and let people's imaginations run wild.
Okay, well, it's we've been on for about an hour. We usually hold our shows to an hour or so. So unless somebody else wants to wrap it up with something that's incisive, we could make a final comment and say goodnight. Bob, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. I want to tell everybody that come to Scranton, enjoy La Fiesta Italiano. There's a lot of hard-working people that are there that are giving up their time and energy, but it's the place to get the best meal in town. And more importantly, stop listening to the media. Don't pay attention to what you read in the Scranton Times, because their opinions are their opinions. But as we all know, if you read it, you're supposed to believe it. And let's pay attention to who we are. When I looked at other things with the media, what we're looking at, our Trump trailer speaks volumes to what America's about. We had a president who gave us a country. We now have a president who's a coward, as far as I'm concerned, that walked away from everybody, woke up in the morning as, Jill, my back is hurt, and what do you think's wrong? And she said, here, I found the problem. And she pulled out the 7 daggers from everybody that gave him a hug and stuck the knife in his back. Don't tell me you're from Scranton. You're from Delaware. We don't need people like this and these parties. And Nikki, you've been around a long time. And Mark, I'm sure you have. Believe in yourself. And that's who we are. Believe what we want to believe. Don't listen to propaganda. And pay attention when you wake up in the morning and know that we have a country that the Democrats are giving away to the illegals. Young women are being raped, murdered, robberies are on the uprise. Scranton just flew another plane load of illegals in. We don't know where they're gone. Busloads have come here. This is the mayor in Scranton. She's a liberal Democrat. They're all liberal Democrats, so they don't believe anything they could do is something wrong against the people. They live in a vacuum, and I'm just telling everybody out there, pay attention to who you were. I filed briefly, lawsuits on behalf of Trump on human error. We had 15 people that signed them, verified them, notarized them. I took it to court on human error, and I was thrown out of it by the magistrate judge that I didn't have standing. Being an American, a citizen, veteran, it doesn't mean a thing. I gave them to Trump's lawyers through General Flynn. He could have intervened in that and joined and opened up the state of Pennsylvania, because we already proved there was human error. They did it in Wilkes-Barre. All they had to do was intervene on our issue, a human error, forget the fraud side. He could have opened up Pennsylvania, because if you find it in one issue, it's understood there may be others, and he could have opened up the state of Pennsylvania on human error, and he'd be the president today.
All right, Bob, thank you for those closing words. And Nikki, you have the last word. A dark, sinister figure in the background. Are you part of the New World Order?
Thank you. I don't know. Maybe I am. I just heard thunder like I've never heard before. I think it was thunder.
Yeah, same here.
It was quite a roar.
Same here, yeah.
I'm like, wow. This weekend, I know La Festa's going on in Scranton, but I'm going to be in Bloomsburg tomorrow and Saturday for Farm Fest. So that's a great musical event. An evening with Stevie's going to be there, as well as others. Look it up online. All you have to do is Google Farm Fest Bloomsburg. You'll get the website. Great entertainment all weekend long. And then on Sunday, one of my favorite events of the season in the area, Valley with a Heart. These people are giving their all. Every single donation that comes in, the proceeds will benefit local families going through very difficult times with kids being diagnosed with various different illnesses. They give direct to the families. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. My final thoughts are: pay attention to what's really going on. Listen to what's being said. More importantly, what's not being said. Don't get wrapped up in empty promises or lies. And we could go on about the lies that we're hearing in the campaign ads forever and a day, and find out what truly matters. We'll do this again next week, and hopefully my life might calm down sometime next week. Now, next week I'm also at the Luzerne County Fair for most of the week, so we'll get.
So next Thursday we should be live again, and then after we record the show, so you could also see it on my site on the internet, Larry Sperano. At any time, because we put in the recorded version of it. So thanks everybody for joining us. And anybody else want to say anything?
Go Trump.
Go Trump. Okay. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, and thanks everybody out there. We appreciate you listening in, and we appreciate when you call in to express your opinion. Never be afraid to express your opinion. Don't go with the flow. Don't be intimidated. Speak out, because that's a way that we stay free in this country. Good night, and we'll see you next Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
Good night.
Thank you, Larry. Take care.
Okay.
God bless America. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.